You have never punched a stranger at a concert. You have never screamed at a referee like he stole something from you personally. You have never thrown a bottle at a car just because everyone else did. But put you in a crowd of 40,000 people, and something in you shifts, something quieter than you takes over. And the real answer for why is far stranger than peer pressure. Think about the last time you were part of a crowd. A protest, a packed stadium, a mosh pit, a riot on the news. Did you notice how your own voice got louder without you deciding to raise it? Did you notice how your face stopped feeling like your own? You were not imagining that. Something measurable happens to your brain the moment you stop being one person and start being part of a mass. Scientists have a name for it, deindividuation. It sounds clinical, it is not. It describes the exact moment your personal identity dissolves into the identity of the group around you. Your name stops mattering, your face stops mattering. What matters is the shape of the crowd, and you become one small piece of that shape. Here's where it gets strange. This is not a modern glitch caused by stadiums or social media. Your ancestors lived and died by this exact mechanism tens of thousands of years before Twitter existed, before referees existed, before anyone had ever seen a bottle to throw. Picture a hunting party moving through tall grass 60,000 years ago. A dozen humans, spears in hand, tracking something far larger and far more dangerous than any one of them could kill alone. For that hunt to work, every person in that group had to temporarily stop being an individual. They had to become a single organism with 12 sets of hands, one mind moving in 12 bodies. Your brain still remembers how to do that, it just does not know the difference between a coordinated hunt and a rowdy crowd outside a bar at 2 a.m. In 1895, a French social psychologist named Gustave Le Bon watched the crowds gathering in the chaos after the French Revolution, and he wrote something that unsettled an entire century of thinkers. He said that a person in a crowd descends several rungs on the ladder of civilization. Alone, that person might be cultured, refined, careful. Inside a crowd, Le Bon argued, they become a barbarian guided by instinct rather than thought. That sounds harsh. It also happens to be measurable. In 1969, a Stanford psychologist named Philip Zimbardo ran an experiment that would later echo through his infamous prison study. He had female participants deliver what they believed were real electric shocks to another person. Half of them wore their own clothes and name tags. The other half were dressed identically in hoods and oversized lab coats that hid their faces entirely. The hooded, anonymous group delivered shocks for nearly twice as long as the group whose identities were visible. Nothing else changed. Not the instructions, not the setting, not the supposed victim. Only one variable moved, anonymity, and that single variable was enough to change what these ordinary people were willing to do to another human being. Why would hiding your face change your behavior so completely? Because your brain evolved to track social consequences through identity. For nearly all of human history, you lived in small bands where everyone knew your name, your family, your reputation. If you did something cruel, something cowardly, something shameful, the entire group knew it was you. That knowledge followed you for the rest of your life. It affected who would share food with you, who would fight beside you, who would choose you as a mate. Strip away that visibility, and your brain quietly recalculates the risk. If no one can trace this action back to you specifically, the ancient warning system that usually keeps you polite, careful, restrained goes strangely silent. This is not a flaw in your character. It is a feature that evolution built for a world that no longer exists in the same way. In 1976, a psychologist named Edward Diener tested this idea in one of the strangest field experiments ever conducted on American children. On Halloween night, he set up bowls of candy in dozens of houses with a simple sign asking trick-or-treaters to take only one piece each. Some children arrived alone and were asked their names by an adult standing nearby. Others arrived in groups and were never asked to identify themselves at all. The anonymous children in groups stole roughly triple the amount of candy compared to children whose names were known. Same candy, same houses, same instructions on the sign. The only thing that changed was whether these 7-year-olds felt like an individual who could be identified or an invisible fragment of a crowd. You do not need a hood or a Halloween mask to feel this today. You need a stadium jersey the same color as 60,000 strangers around you. You need a comment section where your name is replaced by a username. You need darkness or distance or the simple mathematics of feeling like one face among thousands. Your ancestors needed this dissolving of the self to survive the hunt, to defend the camp, to move as one body against a threat too large for any single person. That same ancient wiring is still sitting inside your skull, waiting for the right conditions to activate. And here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. The crowd does not just lower your inhibitions, it replaces your judgment with the judgment of the group. Neuroscientists studying crowd behavior have found that activity in the brain's regions responsible for self-monitoring and impulse control measurably quiets down when a person feels merged with a group. You are not choosing to think less, your brain is doing it automatically, the same way it automatically slows your breathing when you fall asleep. This is why calm, reasonable people can walk into a protest and walk out having done something they never would have done walking down the street alone. This is why a stadium full of decent, ordinary parents and coworkers can turn into a chorus screaming things they would never say to a stranger's face in a parking lot. It is not that the crowd reveals who they secretly are. It is that the crowd changes for a few hours who they temporarily become. But here's the twist buried inside all of this, the part that flips the whole story on its head. This same mechanism that makes crowds dangerous is the exact mechanism that makes crowds capable of extraordinary good. The same deindividuation that fuels a riot also fuels a stadium of strangers singing together in perfect unison. It fuels volunteers pulling together after a disaster, moving as one coordinated body of hands and effort, no individual pausing to calculate personal risk. The mechanism itself is neutral. It amplifies whatever the group around you is already pointed toward. That is the part almost no one tells you. You are not more dangerous or more generous in a crowd because your true self finally comes out. You are more of whatever the crowd is already becoming, because your ancient hunting instincts have quietly handed the wheel over to the group. So the next time you feel your voice rising with a crowd, feel your face blur into the mass of strangers around you, notice it. That feeling is not new. It is not a personality flaw, and it is not proof of who you really are underneath. It is 60,000 years of survival wiring, built for hunting parties and threatened camps, now firing inside a stadium or a comment thread that your ancestors could never have imagined. You are not losing yourself in the crowd. You are returning for a few strange hours to the oldest version of yourself there is.